Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next session of the expert questions and answers session. So I'm Augustas Kligis from Orange Click, and today my guest is Chris Rawlings from JudoLaunch. Hello, Chris.
What's up, guys? Great to be here with all of you. Can't wait to dig into this sesh.
And today we will expert Q&A for me means that no sales pitch, no long presentations. Well, there will be no presentations today, no slides. So I brought the expert of product launches, Chris, and he will be willing to answer any of your questions. So start typing your questions in the chat box, which you see on the right side of the player. And before we start reading your questions, Chris, can you tell shortly what JudoLaunch does?
Yeah, JudoLaunch is a team of people that help Amazon sellers with their product launches. And we also have grown since then to help them before the launch and after the launch as well. Before the launch, helping them get set up for a successful launch by optimizing their listings and translating listings. And after the launch, by helping them manage their accounts and take care of the operational stuff, the day-to-day tasks that have to do with running the business, not growing the business or owning the business. We take over that stuff too. And we take it over at like a very fair rate as well. So yeah, that's what we do. We're basically your trusted advisor and your trusted service provider when it comes to launching products on Amazon. Okay, and by the way, I just have to say, I'm normally way more high energy than this, and I'm going to try to psych myself up by doing some kinesthetics while we're on this call, but it's like mad late here, and I just got back from a flight, so I'm like just pooped. But I am psyched to be here with all of you guys, despite what this may show. So yeah, don't be thrown off by my perceived low energy. I'm definitely psyched.
Yeah, and it's also evening in you are now in China, and it's evening for you, so I can understand.
Yeah, it's pretty late. Yeah.
All right, so product launches. Let's first define what is a product launch. Maybe for some people it means they create a listing and they start selling their products, so this is their launch. But what do we mean by product launch when we will be talking today?
Yeah. So what you just said is releasing a product without launching it, which some people do. And some sellers actually take that route and that strategy, and that's okay for them. But others like to do a proper launch when they release a product. And what that means is getting the traction that you need to start selling quickly to your ideal customers. And there are a ton of ways to do product launches, and they've been done since the dawn of time. But we're talking about a specific type of launch right now, which is an Amazon product launch. And the point of it is, the slow way is to post your product up on Amazon and wait for sales to roll in and wait for it to prove itself, organically over time. The fast way is to make your product live and immediately get a bunch of the units of your product into the hands of your ideal customers so that you can show quick increasing sales velocity and have the initial bank of like social proof and ranking that you need to start selling, to start being shown to your ideal customers. And you can do a product launch even after a product has been released. You can relaunch products like over and over again to increase their visibility, to increase the social proof of the listing, and so on. So yeah, that is what a launch is. It's the fast route to getting sales rolling, basically.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a bit, sometimes for me, it's a bit confusing if the product was on the market for 1 year or 18 months, and then suddenly we do a product launch. So for me, it's more like increasing the velocity
because
of
it's stale. Yeah, because if it's been stale, that needs a launch again. You want to revitalize it and like inject life into it. But that being said, you have to be careful about the reason that it's gone stale, if that is the case. If you're doing this with like a really old product that's been there for a while and it's like not being shown, it's not visible, then the reason could be some underlying problem. And that's one of the biggest things that we deal with and like questions that we get is surrounding that, like issues that cause a launch to be like not sticky, as we would say. Whereas there's a defect in the product or something that's not very straightforward, where looking at the listing, you would expect something, but then holding the product, you get something else. When that happens, it catches up with you eventually, because the honest reviews come in and other people see that, and they see that you're not really being forthcoming in the listing, and that can negatively impact your conversion rate very significantly. So yeah, to remedy that, it's actually best to be both have good sales copy and be honest and straightforward in the listing, and even tell people what this is not for. Not try to sell to everybody, but sell to the people who are will actually get the most value out of it. So you could say, this garlic press is not for a commercial kitchen that wants to process a ton of garlic heads every day. This garlic press is for the personal chef who's cooking for 1 to 4 people. That just as an example.
And you mentioned something sticky and unsticky launches. Can you define these phrases?
Yeah. So by sticky, I mean you do a launch and you get a lot of visibility and your ranking increases because Amazon starts to see your increasing sales velocity, and it stays because once your ranking increases, you're getting high conversions. More organic people start searching for your main and long tail keywords and finding your product, and they're converting and they're buying. So it increases the conversion and velocity and becomes like this self-reinforcing feedback loop that keeps you up there. And that's what we call a sticky launch. When it's not sticky, you get that visibility, and a launch will get you that. Like, that's what it's designed to do. So you're almost guaranteed to get that visibility, but it's like your chance, it's your shot. It's like your 15 minutes of fame. And I mean, the beauty and the horror of the A9 algorithm is that you can get up there, but you can't artificially boost it, forever. And you really can't do that. You can only do it, once. And then if you're not converting well, and if you're getting bad reviews, and if your listing doesn't have good copy or content or images, you fall back down. And then you stop being visible because the A9 algorithm says, oh, this is a product people don't want. We'll stop showing it. And then people stop seeing it, and you get stuck on the bottom of the reinforcing feedback loop again. That's why the fundamentals are the most important. It's like the most boring subject. But the fundamentals actually are the most important to get down before doing a launch, because that's what makes it sticky.
Mm-hmm. Maybe could you explain a little bit how JudoLaunch process works, so that we understand the process, and then we have more questions. I see people already asking questions about basically how it works on your end.
Yeah, how it works. Yeah, so the way it works is you log on to the platform, upload the product data. You upload discount codes for a significant discount. And then once you click launch, the JudoLaunch algorithm routes the offer of your product to the people who are most likely to be most interested in that product and most engaged. Then they see the offer. And these people, by the way, these are online consumers that we have in our network. So they're like members, and they are waiting for us to send them things that are relevant to them, that they're interested in testing out. They're the type of people that like to test out like products as soon as they're released, or get deals on, products that they're interested in. And, some of them are even the type that do unboxing videos on YouTube and like to take pictures of products and post them online. And we've actually found in our analysis that a significant portion of them tend to be stay-at-home moms that are shopping for their family, their husband, their kids, themselves. That's like one group of them. But what happens is the right people get sent this offer, and then they're directed to Amazon to buy. And then once they do, they contribute to your daily sales. And each day of a launch, you get more sales than the previous day. That's how we work. That's not how every launch, type of service works, but that's how ours does. And the reason we do that is because we've done over 1,000 launches, and we've analyzed the data on what works and what doesn't and what works best. And this is the sequence that works best. Objectively, we can say. So it runs for 7 days. The first day you get some sales. The second day you get more sales than the first day, and then the third day more than the second, and so on. So it shows that you're getting an increasing sales velocity over time, and that there's increasing interest for your products. So now you have both the sales to show the algorithm and real customers holding and using your products, who can then, depending on how your marketing is, and if you have product insert or good packaging, collateral, can also be kind of your initial customer bank for that product or that product line. And especially, this is really important if you're launching in a foreign country where you really don't know the customers or don't speak the language or whatnot. It's really important to have those initial customers, because they will be the ones to, they can visit your site. If you're giving some kind of incentive in an insert, they can be the ones to go and take part in your next product launch. And we actually even have a feature where we give you their data. So then you can contact them yourself down the line, and you can ask them for feedback, or, do God knows what with them. There's infinite possibilities. But the main thing is to get you that visibility, because once you start getting your products moving really, really quickly, the A9 algorithm starts to pick this up and show it, not just for your main keyword and long tail keywords, but also for other places on the website, like customers who bought this also bought, or, you might be interested in these. And it just basically shows it that it's a product that people want, so that it gives it the greater likelihood of showing it more to other people.
Mm-hmm. And one of the listeners is asking, how do you get buyers? Is it against TOS? Do you get any reviews during these launches?
No. You can. Yeah, you can get reviews, but they're not incentivized to in any way. So that's why it's important for you to have your own system set up. And I'm actually going to share like a golden nugget right here really, really quickly with your audience, because it's related to this question. And it's something that nobody that I know in the like influencer community has talked about, but I just learned from a good friend. So the basic way is to have a feedback sequence. So when you do a launch like this, and just in general, when you're doing sales, these people are being contacted to say, hey, we're a small company or whatnot, or maybe we're a big company. Maybe you don't mention that, but reviews are very important to us. If you'd leave some honest feedback, we'd be grateful for that. That's okay for you to ask that, as long as it's not connected to any kind of incentive. And we don't connect their getting a discount on the product to leaving reviews at all. They're not required to in any way, but you can still ask them to through your feedback sequence. Now, another way that you can do this that I've been hearing I haven't implemented myself, but it's kind of like a new kind of strategy hack that's been spreading, is to take your customer data from Amazon, the names and the addresses, upload them into your business Facebook advertising account and target only those folks and ask them to leave a review. So instead of email, which people might just every time they see an email from Amazon, just exit out. And now the problem is with feedback sequences, you can opt out as an Amazon customer, and a huge portion of Amazon customers are opting out. So it's much, much harder to do that strategy anymore, but you can target them on Facebook. And it's kind of like, I only know one person that has implemented this and they're having awesome success, but I feel that the strategy has been spreading. Somebody buys your product on Amazon and then a couple of days later, they see it appear in their Facebook feed and it kind of jolts you. It's like, whoa, hey, hang on. How does Facebook know that I just bought this thing on Amazon? And it's like, if you make it very personal and ask, like, as the founder, for somebody to like leave a review for your product and make it easy, they're likely to do that. And that's, I think that's going to grow as a strategy in Hack. And there may even be tools that evolve to help people do that. But I think that's one kind of like insider hack and golden nugget that your audience can take away here, Augustus.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, the person was asking, how do you get the buyers, and is it against TOS?
Oh, yeah. So no, we don't. Everything we do is like within TOS. We're not violating terms of service. Like, we're very careful to follow like Amazon's rules because we want to be on good terms. We actually are in conversations with part of their team in their effort to help sellers expand internationally, because that's one of the biggest things that we do. So we're not trying to get any sellers in trouble in any way. And we act as a trusted consultant and advisor to sellers that engage with us. That's one of the big things that we do that other launch services don't. We're like very high touch, and we maintain a relationship to use us. So the way we get the buyers is it's actually, there's a multitude of ways. So one way is we do highly targeted paid acquisition towards people who are interested in specific categories. So we'll know, like, hey, if we're low on folks who are interested in taking health supplements in Italy, that we need to run a campaign to beef up our audience in Italy for the supplements category. It's like that granularized, because we need to have every major category in every country that we're live in. And we're very careful to make sure that we are ready for any launch that comes our way. So that's one way. And then another way that we've been exploring even more recently is to partner with organizations who have an audience in a specific category, and then get them to have their audience members that are passionate about a specific thing to port that passion over to us in giving them first access to new products that enter their country that are of interest to them. And when they sign on, they have to tell us what they're interested in and like what they're passionate about, so that we can get that initial bank of data on them. Then the more they engage, the more we learn about them and the more data we collect on them, so that we can better utilize them and better route offerings to the right people at the right time, who are most likely to actually care about this thing. Because the one thing that we like have to constantly do is to be very diligent and stay on top from a technical standpoint to weed out people who are trying to abuse the system. So there are, folks who will try to join our group so that they can resell the product. And that's not what we want. We want real buyers who want to use the product and care about it, because those are the customers that we want to link up the sellers to. So we have a lot of sophisticated strategies for targeting these folks and then removing them from the audience and kicking them out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, we have a question from Shlomo, who says, what's the best two-step URL to use to direct traffic to your page during the launch? What's the best two-step URL to use?
Okay, maybe we should get a clarification on that. For his own launch, for him to run a launch to his own audience, I'm assuming. I'm going to assume that Shlomo is talking about he has his own audience and he wants to use a two-step URL with his own audience to run the launch. So the best thing that you could do if you have your own audience is to ask them to search for the product category, the product keyword that you have, and then have them find it themselves and then buy it, because that's the most organic route that a real customer would take. So instead of a URL, directing them to, giving them directions to follow in order for them to search is the best. And trust me, we know, because like I said, we've done 1,000 launches and we've tested like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of variables. So that's what you want to do, Shlomo, if you can. The problem with this is you need to get more sophisticated if your product is like not ranking at all for anything. If it's like actually invisible and it's on page like 50 or something, no one's going to be able to find it at all. But if it's on page 2 or 3, then if I was in your shoes and I had this audience ready to go, I would tell my audience, hey guys, search for garlic press on Amazon. You'll find us. Just click through a couple pages and we'll be there. And then your audience can go find you, add to their cart, purchase it, pay for it, and then or use the discount code, pay for it, and then receive it. And that's the most organic type of sales flow that you can get, as the most organic customer journey that you can get. So there's no trickery there. It's because there doesn't have to be, because it's actually what a customer does when they're looking for a product and they select the best one and then they buy it. So there's really nothing better than that. That's the ultimate.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And the next question, the main keyword that you use for the launch should be in the title. Does the keyword phrase have to be one word next to each other, or as long as both words are in the title, then you are good to go?
No, if you're looking for a multiple word search term, you want it to be in that sequence in the title. That is important. And also, the closer that it is to the beginning of the title, the better it is and the more impact it has.
How do you determine how many products to give away per day while the launch to get to page 1?
Here's what you want to do. So you're going to use a product discovery or data analysis tool, or if you engage with us, we do this all for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But you need to find out what the top selling products are on average selling on the position that you want to rank for the keyword you want to rank for per day. And that's the number that you want to start with as your like beginning day's launch, and then increase it so that you're showing not just that you sell as much as these folks, but that day by day you're selling more and more than them and that you were before, so that you're not like plateaued like they are. You're selling as much as they are and it's increasing. So that's what gives you the edge over them. But that's the order of magnitude of units that you can expect to give away every day for 7 days, is what whoever is selling at that position, however much they're selling. So if they're selling 20 units a day, then you're going to want to sell 140 units. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
The previous question was about two-step URL, and I see someone wants a definition or understanding. What is two-step URL? Could you explain?
Yeah, so he's asking so the very basic way to do a launch with your own audience would be to send them a link to your listing, and then they buy it. They add to cart and they buy it, and that's it. But the natural link to your listing is not what leads to the greatest increase in your ranking for a given keyword. So if you search Amazon, if you go to Amazon.com and you search for a given keyword, so let's go back to the garlic press example. You search garlic press and then you scroll down and you click a product, you'll see, and you look at the URL, you'll see that the URL has the keyword and your product ASIN in it. So it's Amazon.com/DP/your ASIN/keyword equals garlic plus press, and then a bunch of other stuff like a timestamp and a number of other things. So using a specific link to boost your keyword ranking comes down to, or historically has come down to, artificially generating a link similar to that has that's what link a person would find if they were searching for your keyword and then clicked on your product. So that was what we called a super URL back in the day. And 2 years ago, everyone who was doing a product launch would use this type of link, and it would help you to rank your product. But then it got tougher to do that because it started working here and there, or not as well. And then Amazon started paying more attention to that timestamp to find out whether or not that actually the search and the buy happened at the same time. So you could maybe create that link, but and then use it for your launch. But then since that QID timestamp on the search wasn't the same or nearly even the same as the time that they actually visited the page, clicked the add to cart, and then clicked the buy, they're like, hold up, wait, this isn't real. This link tracking should not be counted towards the ranking. So then there were tools that would help you generate a link on the fly. And that was the two-step URL where you have them click a link, it leads them to a tool, which then leads them to another link, which generates a timestamp right there on the fly that's accurate and has the keyword in the title and your ASIN, and that's the page that the person sees. And then they would click add to cart, and then they would buy. So then that was the only way that worked consistently. But then that stopped working as well, at least stopped working consistently. So that strategy will still work for some products sometimes. But like I said, we've done a ton of launches and tested everything under the sun. And in my experience, I don't trust that method anymore. Now I feel the best way to do a product launch is to have your customers, if you can, and I'm assuming again that Shlomo is doing this with his own customer base, to have them search for the product category on their own and find you, and ask them to do that. And it takes them a little bit longer, but if they do it, then that's you can't beat that. There's no link that can beat that, because that is literally the most organic possible way for a customer to find a product.
Someone is trying to arguing with the anonymous name. Search and click is against TOS, isn't it? Like searching and clicking like this is against Amazon TOS.
Well, if you're asking your customers to find your product and buy it, there's no terms that can stop you from doing that. I mean, that's just you being lazy, basically. Like I'm not violating anything by asking someone to Google my company and then click on it. Although it may have impact on the ranking of my site, I could still say, hey, go find JudoLaunch, and not say, go to www.google.judolaunch.com. So yeah, I think that's up to you to make that judgment. I don't believe that at all. I think that's pretty radical.
Mm-hmm. So we got a few questions directly about your services. So Andy was asking, how much do you charge for managing accounts? So JudoLaunch
so
can
for the
also...
account management, it's yeah. So for the account management, we take over customer service. We take over seller support communication. We take over listing optimization to a degree, for a certain number of them per month at least. And we take over VAT invoicing if it's in Europe. We basically take over all like day-to-day operations of the account. So it allows you to focus on growing the business instead of being in the business. And what we charge for that is a base of $500 per month, which is like way less than you would ever pay, any employee, plus a per ASIN amount that's tiered down from $80 per ASIN per parent ASIN. And then the more ASINs you have, the cheaper it gets to add ASINs.
And Nexus would like to know how much do you charge for launching on EU markets?
On EU markets, so a launch costs $497 on EU markets, and that also includes your listing optimization for that market.
And I think if they would use link below this video, they might get 10% discount, I think.
Right. Yep, that's true. As long as they know you, Augustus, they're going to get a good deal.
Nexus is asking...
On anything.
So Nexus is asking, these purchases which are generated by your launching service, are they verified purchases or not?
No, they're not, because Amazon's definition of a verified purchase is not less than 50% off. And the discount that you have to give to our audience is greater than that. So Amazon does not count that as a verified purchase.
And someone is asking, Shlomo, again.
But the point is that it gives you the visibility. Oh, sorry, go ahead. No, well, what I was going to say was the point is that it gives you the visibility for the organic sales to start rolling in themselves. And then all of those sales that you get as a result of the launch are verified purchases. So that's the idea.
And Shlomo wants to know if he would be able to set the amount of units per day for their launch.
You can. We don't. It's not in our interface, our user interface. But if you have a specific request that you want, yeah, you just, like I said, we're very high touch and like we're in constant communication with you. So you just say, hey, I want this. I for whatever reasons I have my own sequence, and you can just give us that. And we'll plug it right in.
Ash would like to know, do you have audiences for all the niches available? What if we are launching something with really specific niche that you don't have the audience?
Yeah. So by now, after doing the number of launches we do, we have pretty much everything. That being said, we have had some pretty like crazy launches that we've done. And what happens is if you have a product that's very, very specific and we don't have the audience for that specific thing, like if it's a product for like a person with a very rare disease or something like that, and we don't even have that data point. It's not like, oh, do they have scoliosis? Yes or no. Like that's not even a field in the data fields that we have in our audience. But if that happens, then we release it to the most engaged members of our audience. And it's just the ones that we know are most likely to be engaged and purchase. So we'll just, if there is no really specific audience, we'll match it as well as we can with the data that we can, and then compare and also use our engagement score with our audience. And that's how we choose who gets what you get. So we've had some really tough launches. And the funny thing is, certain types of companies tend to gravitate towards us for launches. We've launched every category, but there are certain categories that tend to come more often. And one interesting pattern that we've seen is that there's companies that have little to no other options come to us because, and it's been a pretty hard challenge. Like for instance, it can be really tough for sex toy companies or adult toys to do marketing because they're banned from showing, because it's graphic. They can't show that on most of the major platforms. So we've had like a significant number of those types of launches. We've also had really, really, really niche launches. Like we once had to do a launch that was like Disney princess stickers for a specific model of Keurig machines, Keurig coffee machines. So then like if you backthink that and you're like, wow, okay, so this audience has to be, first of all, it's only people with Keurig machines and this specific model. And then they have to be willing to defile their Keurig machine with like these princess stickers. That's like a very niche audience. Yeah. So the answer is yes, that can be done. It just gets adapted.
All right. Are you able, so Jem Rose is asking, are you able to share the site your buyers use to find the products you are launching?
No, we can't. The reason is because like I said, we're like the trusted advisor to the sellers that launch with us, and many times it ends up being a very long-term relationship. We don't want sellers to start like obsessively, like competitively spying on each other. And because we're at the point now where we're likely to be doing multiple launches in multiple categories and sometimes at the same time, we want sellers to trust us that we're not going to give their competitor data about what they're launching and when, so that they can potentially respond to that, and it could end up being just a lose-lose battle. And that's, I mean, for us, we keep doing the launches and that's great, but really we more care about the long-term success of the sellers that use us. So yeah, to protect everyone, we don't share the name of it.
Great. Sasha wants to know, a very interesting question. He says, don't you think that the impact on sales velocity of highly discounted sales will be reduced or even cut completely? In the end, Amazon knows that discount codes are created to manipulate ASINs.
Yeah, this has come up like over and over again in the past couple of years. Yet launches continue to work and be the best strategy to aggressively grow sales if you have if you have quality products. And the reason is this. So I mean, I can tell you by the fact that we're running, dozens and dozens of launches every week that it works. It hasn't stopped working at all. It works very well. And the reason it does, and the reason it will continue to work, is because it's actually a efficient, like, value product finding function for Amazon. Because like I was saying in the beginning of this Q&A, if a product is not quality and it's not converting and it's making promises that it doesn't live up to, it falls back down very quickly. So this is actually a way to give products that are quality but not visible the chance to go where they belong quicker. So it actually makes the whole market more efficient, because then every product gets its shot, and Amazon's getting better at measuring like the real conversion rate over time, and the sessions and the clicks and all of the data on the product, and responding to that very quickly. So it gives the products the shot, and if they're good, then they stay, and that's good for the whole marketplace. And if they're bad, then they drop back down, and that's kind of like a smack on the wrist, like, hey, don't waste your money on a launch until you have a good product and a good listing. And I think that seller then learns that lesson and is likely to focus on the fundamentals before doing the next launch. So the whole marketplace as a whole gets better because of this process. it speeds up the rate at which good products end up being shown more and bad products end up being shown less, which is what Amazon wants.
And how can you assure that you are helping to launch a good product? Maybe it's a bad product.
So there's, to be honest, in the very beginning of JudoLaunch's days, we were taking any launch that came our way. And I mean, we were bootstrapped and like, you know, taking whatever business we could. And we did have times where we launched a product that like was providing bad or even horrible customer experience. I won't say it online because it would be obvious what the product was, but we've had a couple like disasters with our audience. And so then we learned to actually filter those out. So here's one of the things that's different about JudoLaunch than other launch companies is that we actually care about the audience that's getting the product, and we do a lot to ensure that they are well taken care of, so they're more likely to engage and be like real passionate users and customers and hopefully loyal brand followers of your brand in the future, because we don't send them shitty products. Like when you post a launch on JudoLaunch, it goes into moderation for a period of 12 to 24 hours before the actual launch itself starts. And if the moderator scans the launch and deems that this product is definitely bad, then the launch is denied and it doesn't go through. And that's the price that you pay for going with the launch service that actually cares about the members. There's sellers that get denied and then they have to go to another launch service, and we're happy to push away that business because that's business that we don't want. So we've been able to, you know, as JudoLaunch grew, we've been able to be not picky, but more rational about the launches that come through the platform. And it's a very small fraction of launches that don't get approved. But yeah, that's how we do it. It actually gets checked by a human. Every single launch gets scanned by a human before being approved and being started. Then again, there are some things that we can't see by looking at it. So it's possible that and this is what can happen is account manager will have direct contact with the business owner or the person who's doing the launch. And if they're not straightforward, that there's some kind of defect in the product or that they're making some kind of promise that they can't live up to for the customer, then the negative reviews will start rolling in, and that product launch won't be sticky. And I'm only saying this honestly because launches aren't magic. You know, they're the best way to do a product release, but they're not magic. Like you have to have the fundamentals down in order for it to be successful. Like I'd love to say that it's all you need because it's what we provide, but it's really not. Like the fundamentals need to be there for it to be successful. And that's just the cold hard truth.
Great. And now I see some people are waiting for these tips you promised to share, where you said that you are in China and you know some things how Chinese sellers are launching products. Maybe you can talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, dude. Yep. Yeah. So this is actually for people that want to dig into that a little bit more. I'm going to be having a dedicated webinar on this specific subject next week with my friend Gary, who's like one of the biggest influencers, if not the biggest influencer in the Amazon seller community in Shanghai. So that's that. But basically, how it works here in China is that the entire like mental model or like ethos around building an Amazon business or building an e-commerce business is completely different. And like, I think the most common thing here is that they can dump an inordinate amount of like human labor on something. So whereas you might be using Jungle Scout to identify, you know, the competition for a given product, and then, you know, getting prototypes from Alibaba and then sussing them out and picking your supplier to work with and then choosing them and blah, blah, blah. In China, everything happens at like 20 times the speed. So they have like a team of like 10 or 20, like doing this product analysis. And they're not only finding like what's selling well, but they're finding the velocity at which this product is selling, this product category or this product type is selling like well and selling more and more. And that's how they'll establish a trend. And they'll try to grab the trend before the trend hits. And once they do that, then since they have the price power, they have the ability that, you know, if you're a Western seller, you don't have this ability because you're not there close to the source. You're not either the supplier or the trader. So what they'll many times do is get ridiculously aggressive on the units, like sending out a ton of units to just like flood the market. And they'll even do a number of different brands for the same product so that they can take many different spots on the same page. It's like the Procter and Gamble strategy of you go to the shelf to buy your detergent, and you have like 10 different options, but like 6 of them are Procter and Gamble. That's something that you see here a lot. There'll be a factory that produces a product and they have like 6 different brands for the same one, so that they take up more of the eyeball space, and they'll launch them all concurrently. So then you're getting squeezed out not only by one listing, but by 3. And that's that much more of the real estate that you don't see. Another thing is, what I wouldn't recommend, but is extremely common here, is, and I highly don't recommend this, and I don't engage in this myself, by the way, but it's it's more and more common instead of Facebook, in China, you use WeChat. WeChat is basically like Facebook, WhatsApp, PayPal, and like every other app you've ever used in one app. It's like the one app that everyone in China has and uses. So there are WeChat groups that are private that sellers enter, and their whole sole purpose is to find people who will buy their product at full price plus, and then they'll refund that person through PayPal or a direct transfer some other way and pay them more. And they pay like, you know, some large amount, like for each like real purchase. So that is a verified purchase, full price purchase. And they'll many times make them leave a review as well, and sometimes write it for them so that they can stuff all the keywords that they want in there. And it's really, really common here. Now, it's because it's so common, Amazon has gotten better and better at cracking down on it, and they're getting way more sophisticated, which is good for everyone else, because it means that the sellers focusing on fundamentals and providing value to the customer, doing things the right way, you know, in other words, are more likely to see success than the black hat guys. But Amazon is very quickly like keeping up with this, and they're now spotting the people who tend to leave reviews, and only 5-star reviews, like hundreds of them every week, and just blocking them from leaving any reviews, because those are the guys that are most likely engaging in this type of service. And then they'll find the sellers that get reviews at a rate that's significantly different than other sellers selling the same type of product who have released their products. So they're keeping track of the averages of each product and then comparing them with how many reviews your product got over the same period of time. And if you got too many, whether or not they were full purchase, straight up real product purchases, they'll stop you from being able to get any more reviews or even remove reviews. So now the Chinese sellers have to like slowly improve, like slowly buy the reviews, but Amazon's even catching on to that. So it's like a constant war. But yeah, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about this because I have a dedicated webinar just for this subject happening next week. And by the way, Augustus, I hope you're not upset with me for saying that. I'm only saying that because your person asked. I'm not trying to make anybody come to that. But, if that person is interested in that, feel free to attend that webinar with Gary, because he's the expert. So he'll be jumping into all of that.
Yeah, so first of all, we don't encourage this kind of PayPal review stuff. It's probably gray or black magic.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Like I said, like I said, I don't do that, and I wouldn't recommend that. But like I said, there's crazy stuff, happening here. But yeah, I mean, the other thing though, having multiple brands that's fine. You're allowed to have as many brands as you want. But there's actually all kinds of strategies.
We do have a little bit, a few more questions, but before we move on, you mentioned this webinar, and some people will be watching this recording weeks later, so might be that webinar will be already gone. But can you tell us the best way to jump on your regular webinars? I know JudoLaunch is doing all the time content like this. What's the best way for people to join this upcoming webinar and any future ones?
Yeah, if you just go to judolaunch.com and scroll down on the blog, then there's a little field where you can input your email address, and then we just notify you every time there's a new webinar. And we try to do one every week. In the past month, we haven't been living up to that, but up until then, we were doing just about one per week. So, and we're going to be getting back on the rhythm there. So, yeah, and they're all on subjects with like an expert in that subject. We did tax with TaxJar. We did logistics with Flexport. We did payments with Payoneer. We did PPC with PPC Entourage. Like, we bring in the people who know the stuff best. It's pretty fun.
All right. So let's move on to one of the last questions. So Gerda wants to know, what tool would you advise to analyze the sales of the best-selling competition?
You want to use Amachete. Amachete is a great tool. Best one out there in my opinion. By Phil McCall. I know you know Phil Augustus. Phil's a great guy, and he's like obsessively dedicated to product. So I recommend that over any other product analysis tool. I think that's the best you can get.
Perfect. And then another viewer is asking, what keyword position does JudoLaunch aim for? In your recent data, did you determine if results differentiate whether it's more effective for a one-day total sales spike versus several days?
Yeah. So several days, 7 days to be specific, is the best. 7 days increasing product sales every day for a period of 7 days is the best sequence that we quantitatively decided on from our analysis. And we've done every sequence in the history of the business through the, over 1,000 launches that we've done. So we can say definitively that is the best sequence. In terms of the keyword position, it depends on the level of competition that you have, because maybe you are on page 20 and you'd be happy with being at the bottom of page 1 because you're selling an insanely high competition product in the US market, which is the most high competitive market as well. Or maybe you're more of the, spread wide type of seller. Like Chris Davey does this. I don't know if you know Chris, Augustus, but Chris's strategy is to sell very specific niche products, but a lot of them, and and have unique designs for each one and unique type products for each one, unique features, so that it's not a high enough competition for like a ton of other sellers to come in and compete with him because it's niche enough. And nobody's going to copy him because it's niche enough. But he has a differentiated product so he can dominate that niche. So he's kind of got the best of both worlds, which I love. So for him, you know, if I was in that position, I'd be going for the top spot. I'd be going for spot number one. But like I said, whatever spot you are going for, to decide the units that you need to distribute in order to get there, you want to look at the average daily sales of the seller who is there, and you want to match or exceed that. So that's the strategy you're going to want to use, despite, you know, whatever position it is. That's what you want to do.
Great. Žydrūnas would like to know, does your launch include review or feedback generation? We already touched that at the beginning, but you can repeat it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't include reviews because it's against Amazon's terms of service to incentivize a review, even if it's not a positive review. So the consumers in the network that we have, the members, they're not required to leave a review. That said, if you have a feedback system in place, like, you know, Feedback 5 or Feedback Genius, etc., I would highly recommend having something that asks for a review just for nothing, because you know, you want them to leave one. And then, yeah, we also touched on that strategy of uploading your product data into Facebook and targeting those people and asking them to leave a review. I think that's a really cool strategy that I think will end up being pretty hot among the seller community soon. But right now, only a couple sellers are doing it.
And similar question related is given by Gerda. She's asking, what technique can you advise for the follow-up of a successful launch?
Okay, yeah. So there is where that's where all the other fancy stuff comes in. So as soon as you've done a launch and it's successful, you want to maintain that momentum in every way possible. So the most basic thing you need to do is ramp up your PPC. And you'll first want to ramp up PPC for both your automatic campaigns and so if you're doing this new launch, you want to run your automatic campaigns concurrently with a pretty high cost per click so that you can get high volume. And as quickly as you can, usually have to give it about 2 weeks, suss out the most high performing keywords that are fairly high volume, and then do individual keywords for each individual campaigns for each of those, and a campaign for the keyword that you're trying to boost. So that way, there's even more of a chance of someone, even if you are ranking well, just to keep that momentum going for a while, it's good to kind of do these extra strategies and give it a little bit more of an artificial boost. So do the PPC aggressively on that keyword for a couple weeks after your launch ends. And then also do everything else you basically have in your arsenal. So you can run a campaign to your email list that leads them to that product. And you can ramp up your Facebook advertising and even just communicate any way possible with your buyers, whether it's that Facebook retargeting by pixeling them or adding their product data to Facebook, or it's by, you know, sending out an email and having just stellar customer support. If you follow it up, if you're actively following it up with everything you can possibly do to encourage more positive reviews and more sales to that product, it's going to give it a better chance, because Amazon's looking at the average of the past daily sales. It's looking at the trailing 7, the trailing 30, the trailing 90 of the sales of the product. So it's important over time to keep that up. And then once you hit like enough past data for Amazon to know without a shadow of a doubt that this is the best product for customers to buy searching this term, then you're pretty much set. Like, yeah, other people can come in and do launches, but you have that long data history. so they can come in and drop back down if they're not as good as you. And you can keep that for, the foreseeable future if you're pretty aggressive with it. So that's basically another big thing I think is that I do. That's just a little sort of loophole, is a lot of people will tend to accidentally leave seller feedback. That's a review. So they'll leave a review in your seller feedback. And I like to keep these in the bank so that when I do a launch like this and I want to follow it up with more proof to the algorithm that, yes, this is the best product, I can go into my bank of seller feedback and one by one contact those people and say, hey, by the way, thanks for everything you said. That was awesome about that product. Glad you liked it. But just so you know, you actually left seller feedback, not a review. They're not really the same thing. If you wouldn't mind, just click here to leave an actual review for this product. I copied and pasted what you said into this email for you to make it as easy as possible for you so that you can just copy and paste it right into the review. So copy this, paste it right into this link. And you can do that all at once. So not all at once, but not a ton of them, but you can keep those in the bank so that you can like trigger them whenever you want. And that's kind of like a really nice way to generate reviews like on command. And I use that to help follow up with the launch myself, and I've had that be very successful.
Great. Tash is asking, do you have a two-step URL generator in mind that can generate the individual timestamps on the fly?
No, not really. Since we're like using our own, like, I don't use two-step URL services at all anymore. So I think I'm probably not the best one to ask about that. Because everything is internal now for us. And, for my own brand, I use JudoLaunch. So, but maybe somebody else in the community could provide that to you.
I'm not sure. Maybe Helium 10 you can check, but I don't remember exactly. So one of the last questions by James Sauce. Let's say you have a product that is number 2 search result for a particular search term. Who do you determine number of units necessary? How do you determine number of units necessary to sell with a JudoLaunch to move to number 1?
Well, I guess it sounds like the strategy that we already went over wouldn't work for him because maybe number 1 selling less for whatever reason. In that case, I would use the sales that the competitor is making as the benchmark. And if it's lower than yours, then use yours with a margin of increase. And likely what our account manager would do that was assigned that launch would be do an analysis on the rest of the page and find out what the top dogs are doing. And likely, there's different main keywords for this type of product, it sounds like, by the wording of the question. So they do an analysis to get an average across the couple of major keywords that those sellers are doing, that the top sellers are doing for that type of product, and then use that as the benchmark of the day 1 sales, and then ramp up from there. But you'll get a recommendation for that, so you don't have to actually choose.
All right, we don't have any more questions, so maybe once again you can present your company. What services do you offer for Amazon sellers, and how can they find you?
Sure, dude. Yeah. It's already midnight here on a Friday, so I guess it's time to crack open my first beer. So JudoLaunch is a launch company for Amazon sellers looking to increase sales of their products. And we help them to execute product launches and then handle with the operational load for after their launch is successful by automating their basic account operations over time. And then we also help them with before the launch by helping them to translate and optimize their listings by writing sales copy that speaks to the human beings that are reading the listing, and providing the keywords necessary that speak to the robots that are reading the listings, i.e. the algorithms that are reading the listings. So it's everything that you need before, during, and after your product launch to increase the sales of your product.
Perfect. Thank you very much,
and
Chris.
brand.
Yeah, and people will find the link to your company below this video in the description. And good luck in the business, and bye-bye.
Thanks, bro. Great talking to you guys. Have a good day / night.